senses of a liberated sage are naturally and firmly established in his own heart. It is the mind-heart that paints a picture known as the three worlds on the canvas of the omnipresent being. We often hear about the mind. The mind is a word that is used often. In the West, it's got a cerebral connotation, as if it's something aloof from the emotions. But in the original text, in the East, mind also includes the motivating force, the heart, what moves us. So a correct translation of the word, which is usually translated as mind, is mind-heart. Mind-heart. Because the thoughts don't exist in a vacuum. Our thoughts are coloured by our heart. The heart is the emotional tone of our being. It represents all our inclinations. So the senses of a liberated sage are naturally and firmly established in his own heart. Well, the senses are normally directed outwards. The heart normally directs the senses outwards onto the objects of its desire. But the sage has turned this around. The sage is no longer being led by the senses. They're firmly established in his own heart, which means that his attention, which is usually being directed by the heart and the senses, is being directed towards the heart, which is towards itself. This is the natural inclination of the sage, for the attention not to be directed outward by the heart and the senses, but to be directed towards itself. And the attention resides in the heart. That might seem quite unusual, actually. We normally think of the attention as part of the mind. We think of the attention as a fairly neutral thing, a cerebral thing. But the attention is driven by our inclinations. The attention is restless if our inclinations are all over the place. The attention is what is focused on the object of our desire. So the attention of the liberated sage naturally rests on itself, which rests in the heart, which means the heart of the sage's essential being. It's this same mind-heart that paints a picture known as the three worlds on the canvas of the omnipresent being. This mind-heart wants to reach out. It wants to comprehend. The omnipresent being is like the television set on which an infinite variety of dramas can unfold, although it's much more vibrant than a TV set. But this is the canvas of the omnipresent being. The mind-heart paints the picture known as the three worlds as creation on the omnipresent being, on our own consciousness. This is the mind-heart operating as the cognitive process of cognition. The mind creates fragmentation and division. It characterises. It labels things. It names things. It establishes cause and effect. In fact, there is no such fragmentation. But the fragmentation that is observed in this creation is but the mind's own painting. Space is absolute emptiness. However, in the mind, the world appearance rises and falls in the twinkling of an eye. I think it's possible that space is being taken here as analogous with awareness. However, we can understand it in its usual sense. Space is only space because it's empty. However, in the mind, the world appearance rises and falls in the twinkling of an eye. So the world appearance fills space, or apparently fills space, And it does it in the twinkling of an eye. A friend of mine was recently watching a documentary by Richard Dawkins on Charles Darwin, and he was quite enthusiastic about Dawkins' presentation of evolution. And this is a great story. Evolution is a great story, which I'm sure is the best story, which fits the apparent facts. But one of the things it does is it takes us away from the fact that the world appearance is rising and falling in the twinkling of an eye. The story of evolution ties in with the story of the Big Bang. It all happened 15 billion years ago. Time and space kicked off, and then this very limited variety of molecules got together and eventually became us and everything else. That's a good story, and for scientific purposes it's one that's worth adhering to. But it's not the facts. The facts are the world appearance is arising moment to moment. The Big Bang is happening without the sound effects every moment. This whole world appearance, all of creation, is being constructed, according to another scientific story, is being constructed from electrical signals received somewhere in our brain. These electrical signals are what are being made into our whole experience of the phenomenal universe. So that's a scientific story, that the world appearance rises and falls in the twinkling of an eye, and you can experience this yourself. It's gone.